Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, would you please take roll call?
Dave Abdallah.
Here.
Bill Bazzi.
Here.
Robert Constant.
Here.
Lisa Hicks Clayton is absent. Denise Malinowski Maxwell.
Here.
Ray Muscat.
Here.
Tom Wetzel.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Nancy Beyer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. Next, we have the agenda approval.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Constant.
I move that the agenda and order of business for May 8th, 2018, regular council meeting be approved.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bazzi. Any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have the agenda approval.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah.
I motion that we approve the minutes from April 24th, 2018, from the regular meeting of Dearborn Heights City Council as submitted.
Second.
Councilman Muscat seconds that. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have public hearings and comment on agenda items, and this would include the corporate fund budget public hearing. Does anyone from the audience step up to the microphone, state your name?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Zohair Abhat, 354 Roseberry. I went back a little bit to June 12 in 2012 to look at the City Council agenda. And just to make, before I say anything, to make myself clear, I'm not against giving raises to anybody who deserve it in the city if the money is available. I would encourage that as a matter of fact. But at that meeting, the heads of departments were present.
Stop.
Yes, please. Excuse me, Mr. Abdul Haq. We need to have a motion to open up the public hearing.
Correct, and I was going to do that.
So before we have to do this officially.
It's okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah.
I make a motion that we open up the public hearing for and comment on the agenda items, and most specifically 2018 and 2019 corporate fund budget public hearing.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bazzi. All right, continue.
Okay.
Vote, please.
Oh, all in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Go ahead, please.
Thank you.
Pardon me. Can I read the public notice? I need to read this. Please take notice that a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, May 8th, 2018, at 8 p.m. in the council chambers located at 6045 Fenton, Dearborn Heights, Michigan, for the purpose of hearing objections, if any, to the proposed budget for the city of Dearborn Heights for the fiscal year 2018-2019. Property tax millage rates proposed to be levied to support the proposed budget will be the subject of this hearing. A copy of the budget will be available for inspection at the office of the city clerk at 6045 Fenton, Dearborn Heights, Michigan. This notice will be posted on the internet at www.ci.dearborn-heights.mi.us after approval and by direction of the city council under and by virtue of the city clerk. Signed, Walter J. Prusevich, Clerk of the City of Dearborn Heights.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman
I want to
Muscat.
apologize to our city clerk, Walter Persevich. I kind of fell down on this one, and thank you for stopping us and getting it back on the right track. Thank you.
Is my 3 minutes up?
Yep.
You're done.
Start over.
You can't question this anymore. You're done.
This is regular meeting of the Dearborn Heights City Council, June 12, 2012. I'm trying as fast as I can, so please bear with me. Present council members, and also present was the heads of department, Mr. Mayatki, the mayor, and specifically Mr. Subah, Mr. Zimmer, the Director Greibel. That night, Resolution 12-218 was passed, and 12-2019 was passed. If you allow me to read this resolution. Motion by Councilman Berry, seconded by Councilwoman Horvath, that proposed ordinance H-12-04, an ordinance of the City of Dearborn Heights providing that the Code of Ordinances, City of Dearborn Heights, be amended by amending Section 2-182 and by adding Section 2-184, Section 2-237, and Section 2-238, all of which concern retirement benefits, be considered read for the second time, with the stipulation that the controller add to the 2012-2013 budget that all combined earning for department heads that take early retirement not exceed $55,000 annually to become effective upon publication in the city's official newspaper as provided by law. 6 people voted yes, Mrs. Badalo voted no. And 12-2019 basically is the same thing. This ordinance was passed after deliberation, and it was read twice in the presence of the concerned people who are asking for more money, to their salaries. I just want to thank Councilman Ray Muscat, who drew my attention to it, because he said he was present here, and I did search it, and I found it, Anyway, I am afraid that this was an ordinance. If anybody doesn't cut his grass and violate an ordinance, we ticket them, we might take them to court. I am just trying to warn this honorable city council. You might be violating an ordinance exists on papers in the city if you do pass the increases in salaries for those people who agreed to take early retirement, and they were present when this passed. So please be careful with what you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Does somebody want this back, or I was going to give to the attorney for research?
Okay.
Madam Chair, just for clarification for the residents, this is in regards to the corporate budget, the budget that we have for 2018. So this is in the event any residents have any questions on the budget, this would be the time to do it. So I just want to clarify that. That's what that's all about. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have fund transfers and current claims.
We have to close the meeting.
Madam Chair,
Okay.
I move that we close the meeting of the corporate fund public hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bazey. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have fund transfers and current claims.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move council accept the transfers and current claims 6-1 through 6-17 as outlined.
Is it seconded?
Second.
Councilman Abdullah seconded. So it's moved by Councilman Muscat, seconded by Councilman Abdullah.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Bazey?
do we have anybody here from the assessor's office?
Normally, we do not unless
Okay.
you let us know, or then we could have somebody here, but Tony does not normally attend our council meeting.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is I saw here we have an invoice for 6-2, an invoice for $2,079.49. It's for the assessor. I just had a question. Maybe I can keep my question till we go over his budget, right?
You can do that, but I would hope you'd approve this because we got to send out by law the notices on the assessment roll.
Okay, the second one, I still have an issue with, okay, I guess two questions. One is the sewer cleaning. I'm still questioning that.
Which one is that?
610. I know Mr. Zimmer, he actually, I'm sorry, Director Zimmer, he brought some pictures last meeting. I'm still questioning who's actually dumping, and there's got to be a way that we track the violators, who's dumping grease down the sewers. And I went back a year and a half council meetings, and I saw that's been talked about for at least a year and a half, and we're still in the same situation. We haven't cleared it yet. And the second one, I see there's a lot of attorney fees on today's agenda for invoices. My question is, I know that the city attorney budget, we haven't gone over it, but why isn't it the city hiring an actual full-time attorney for the city? Because I see here there's 3 invoices for attorney fees, and it's a lot cheaper to hire an attorney that works for the city than to keep paying. There's 3 different invoices for 3 different attorneys.
I mean,
If you want, but I would disagree with your assessment, but go ahead, Gary.
yeah, I remember looking into this issue a number of years ago, back when Mayor Canfield was the mayor, and the budget for the city of Dearborn was probably about, with all of the labor and regular work that we did, the city of Dearborn's budget, and they would still go out to outside counsel, was probably about 5 to 6 times as much, because you're not factoring in all of the retirement benefits, the type of schedule that they end up having in terms of working, you know. So, no, it would not actually be cheaper. It would probably be far more expensive. And then you would end up having people who would end up being employees as opposed to independent contractors.
We also get a fantastic rate from Gary that, quite frankly, and maybe Mr. Constance could say this is exceptionally low in regards to fees.
Yeah, Council Chair.
Councilman
So bigger
Constance?
cities have, like, for example, Dearborn or City of Detroit, employees, but we have the need, amongst other things, for a wide variety of attorneys in different areas, expertise, labor and employment, water and sewer, planning and zoning. So, and our charter requires that the city attorney, as many city charters do, be a resident of the city, and then, so Mr. Miyatki's the city attorney, and then he consults with other attorneys as their expertise requires. I know, for example, Mark Roberts attends all the planning commission meetings, and he has a lot of expertise. He works for a firm that represents many different cities. So it gives us a broader depth, and as our city attorney said, employees with the benefits and everything else, and then when you have an employee, you're still going to have to contract out for labor and employment for water and sewer, taxation, tax appeals.
And if I may, even if you were to keep people, I mean, we had this with, what was it, Randall Brown from Corporation Counsel for Wayne County. He was the Deputy Corporation Counsel, and what did he do? He had a great deal of expertise, but ultimately he ended up going to the Great Lakes Water Authority. So we all enjoyed working with him on the various things we had with the county, but people will end up leaving after they have the expertise. So, you know.
Councilman Muscat?
But, you know, you mentioned residency requirement, but didn't the state overturn that now, the Supreme Court, about residency?
So-
Even though it's in our charter, because police no longer have to live here, firemen no longer
Yeah,
have to live
but
here.
that requirement is not, he's not an employee. That means that the person who is appointed the city attorney they have to be required to be a resident by charter, but that person is not an employee. So you're correct that it was an anti-Detroit move. They outlawed residency requirements, but Mr. Miyake is not an employee. We contract with him.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that assessment, just in terms of the way the research I've done. I think it's possible to have someone who's not a city resident, but I do think that there's value in having a city resident.
City of Detroit, for example, in their legal department, you have to be a member of a union. In order to be a member of the union, you have to live in the city. So their legal department, where I once worked as a law clerk, still requires indirectly you be a resident of the city of Detroit.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Councilman Muscat?
Contemplating about what I said. 6.4, we're looking at water charges and sewage charges. No questions on the charges, but someone brought this up to me the other day when they were watching the construction along Beach Daily and wherever. When the construction companies are using water from the fire hydrants, who gets charged for that? Is it the water department and the taxpayers have to pay for it? I mean, shouldn't that be the construction company if they got to use all
Well,
that water?
the construction company does get a permit from DPW, but since it's a city contract, they do waive the fees, because it'd be discharged back to the city anyways in the contract. But any other contractor that's not a city contract, they do require a $2,500 deposit, and then water is metered, and then whatever is not used is returned. So they did pull a permit, but it was no fee.
Okay, thank you. And another one on 6th the major streets. Nothing with this, but we spoke to Mr. Brooks on Thursday about the concrete at Hass and Kinlock there, or Kingsbury, excuse me, and John Daly and Wilson, and these are brand-new roads. Okay, so you're still, and you know about when you're going to be able to see that?
It could be within a week,
Okay, and I have one for Mr. Miyake, though, on his claims. It's I'd have to find it in here, but it's for the work that is being done again with River Oak Special Assessment. Isn't that done?
No, that will be an ongoing thing.
That's going to be an ongoing thing?
Yeah.
To do the assessment, I don't want to speak for you, but Gary's taking me through it, because I'd like to get that job done and over with, and the residents would. But in checking, because we really, when I first came on the council, they were doing some special assessments, but nobody here really has that expertise, and the checking he's done, he's been told that you have to follow a procedural format that you have, and so he's involved in every step of the process.
Yeah, and basically I'm going to defer to Seacrest Wardle, which represents a lot of communities that are newer, like Auburn Hills, and that do a lot more special assessments, to take on more of that aspect of the process, just because they have the expertise with regard to that. The contractual thing, which was what was on this bill, is something that I feel that I can handle. It's not anything special in terms of special assessments. So
I was just curious. I
Sure.
thought that was already put to bed.
No, as a matter of fact, when we were talking about that, Mark Roberts, I don't know if you remember Mark, but people were talking about getting this done, and he was like, have they ever done a special assessment before? And I said, no, actually we haven't done a special assessment in this community for decades. So he was like, you can come back and have a lot of things. It depends on if people object. So it's more complicated.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Councilman Wenzel and Councilman Bazey are opposed. Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration of bids, tabulation of bids and return of bid bonds, City Hall HVAC Unit, Public Service Administrator Zimmer.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah?
I move we concur with Department Head Bill Zimmer. On Wednesday, the 25th of 2018, bids were to provide and install one York Predator 6.5-ton HVAC unit or equal at City Hall were opened. Attached are the bid reviews, and then they've gone through the reviews, and they've picked out a company named Allied Building Service on Howard Street in Detroit for the amount of $12,305, and the funds for this project were allocated in the 2017-2018 budget, and they're requesting the approval for the mayor to sign the agreement on behalf of the city and return the bid bonds to the unsuccessful bidders as outlined on item 7A.
Supported by Councilman Muscat. Any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have reports from the mayor. Dearborn Heights Public Employees Association contract.
Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move this be moved to a study session and have our corporation counsel look into this matter again with all of the material that has been floating around. I would like corporate counsel to take a look at this again.
Second.
Okay, that is moved by Councilman Muscat and seconded by Councilman Bazey. Any further discussion?
If I may ask a question, what kind of time frame are you looking at in terms of it going to the study session?
As soon as possible.
Next week, if we can, well,
Next week? Okay, all right.
let me see what the schedule looks like. I'll know more.
Okay, I'll just assume
After I
next
get out of
week
here
and-
tonight.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to do it as soon as possible.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah?
this is for Council Carey. So is it a study, I mean, this is a case where, without getting into the details, but there's been some debate back and forth as far as the communication that's happening or not happening and people replying or not replying. So without getting into the details, the question is it really a study session by us as council people that's needed, or is it really more getting all parties to the table to get this thing all ironed out and finalized? Because it's dragging on, and I know both parties say they want to get this thing done, but it's not getting done.
My recommendation, based on the fact that the mayor and the negotiating team met with the folks, and really we could probably have a study session to a certain degree, and we could also have a closed session to a certain degree with regard to this, because there's been a lot of frustration, as I understand it, from the administration standpoint and negotiating team standpoint. And I know that Labor Council has assured me that she's had like 6 different communications that have not been responded to by the union. So I think it would be helpful to end up actually probably having this matter so that the council can end up being given a status. I think
Councilman Bazey?
I actually recommend that if we do move it to a closed session, we get all parties involved at the same meeting so we can avoid keep going back and forth with this contract.
Well, the problem is we can't have a closed session. We can have a closed session with regard to negotiations when it has to do with strategy. But we can't really talk, we can't say that we're going to have a strategy session with members of the union because they're the people on the other side. So we don't really have an exception to an open meeting when we meet with the union members with regard to negotiating. But we can have an open session as part of it, and we can have a closed session as part of it, and then you could probably end up talking to the union members at that point, and with the members of the administration, the closed session and open session to the degree that you see fit.
Okay, so if we were to do that, we have to announce it. not
Correct.
like last time. So if we do that.
Yeah, we have to
can-
let the public
yeah.
know.
What I would end up suggesting is that the notice should say study session and/or closed session. And that way it covers both of the possibilities, however the body sees fit to deal with it.
18 hours. 18 hours.
Okay,
I second the motion to move to a study session.
okay, now, any other
Well-
discussion?
I second to move it to a two session, so we have an open session and a closed session.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next on reports from the mayor, we have Dearborn Heights Public Employees Association Memorandum of Understanding.
Mr. Chair?
Councilman Muscat.
Again, I think this has got something to do with this contract now. I guess I opened up a can of worms on that, and we can't do anything with this, I believe, if we don't have the contract ratified.
Understandable.
So again, we're going to have to put this one on hold also until the contract is approved.
I second that too.
Beth, would you
Okay,
agree
that
with
is
that
moved by
assessment?
Councilman Muscat and seconded by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the reports from the mayor, we have North Dearborn Heights Baseball League Opening Day Parade. Councilman Muscat.
I move council approve the North Dearborn Heights Baseball League permission to hold their annual North Dearborn Heights Baseball League Opening Day Parade on Saturday, May 5th, 2018 at 10 a.m. As outlined in 8C.
Second.
Supported by Councilman Abdullah. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have reports from city officials. Clerk Persovich, purchase of Samsung Galaxy tablets for the city council.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Muscat.
I move council concur with Clerk Persevich on his purchase of 7 Samsung Galaxy tablets at a present cost of $519 per tablet, which times 7 council members, as outlined in 9A.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Councilman Abdullah.
I spoke with the clerk earlier, and I know I spoke with you about this too. I personally would suggest that maybe we amend the motion to say something like this or something of equal value, not to exceed this particular amount. And the reason being is just to be sure before we buy this, and then we find out as a possibility it's not compatible with our city hall computers or maybe not with Apple, et cetera, just to have somebody that's more of an expert in that particular field look at these, just make sure these are good for what we need to use. And then just have the amount not to exceed 519, et cetera, et cetera.
Mr. Chair, I move to amend that if there's any other objections.
Councilman Constant?
Maybe we could have IT look at it.
No, because, yeah, technology changes, and there may be something new coming out that, works better, is cheaper.
That would make this void.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to put a
I'd like to amend
timeline.
the motion then to concur with Walter Persevich, our city clerk, to purchase 7 tablets similar to the Samsung Galaxy Tab S332 or equivalent, which maybe IT can help us with to make sure that they're compatible with city IT.
Right.
Okay,
We have-
Councilman Bazey?
Yeah, we have to put a time limit on it, so we're not waiting a year for these, so.
Let's just give it a couple
let's-
weeks. In 2 weeks, we'll readdress it again.
Well, I don't think we have to do that. I think once we approve this, we can.
That's just our
Okay.
discretion when we purchase it.
Question of the
All right.
clerk, he can,
So I made the motion, we need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bazey. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have
Great idea.
reports from city of, yeah, it is. If you look at our paperwork on the table here, we need something like that. All right, next we have Clerk Persevich, budget amendment.
Council Chair,
Councilman Muscat?
I move council approve the clerk's office request for the following budget adjustment from election capital outlay account number 101-190-981, the amount of $5,000 to council supplies number 101-101-728, the amount of $5,000. The budget transfer will provide funds to purchase the Samsung tablets for the city council to reconcile the current deficit of $272.54 as outlined in 9B.
Second.
Second by Councilman Constant. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Councilman Abdullah?
Excuse me. I think we'd have to adjust this one to say Samsung tablets or similar or equivalent value.
I think that
Because it's gotta be the same.
I think that will be covered under the other motion.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda is Treasurer Riley, interfund loans.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Constant?
I move that we concur with our treasurer, John J. Riley II, and authorize the treasurer to enact interfund loans if needed. We had a study session before our meeting and discussed last year, for example, we did not need to do any interfund borrowing to keep our cash flow current, but the treasurer asked us to authorize this to borrow up to $1,750,000 if needed, as outlined in 9C.
Second.
Second by Councilman Abdullah. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Bazey?
I'd like to actually see if there's a timeline on here. If you guys, I talked to Treasurer O'Reilly earlier, if the money is needed, is it going to go back in front of the council to say, okay, we need to pull that money out because it's required? That's the first question.
Okay. Treasurer Riley?
Yes. No, I won't come back before the council. This is basically your authorization giving me the authority to utilize the interfund loan if needed. And then, but you can see in the request that that the loan shall be paid back by September 15th, 2018. So that will be part of your motion because it says in accordance with 9C. Now, last year we didn't borrow at all, but the year before when we borrowed, I think it was $500,000. I'm just going from the top of my head. I don't remember that off. I had the sheet on the other table, but we paid that off in the month of August. So I would anticipate even the when the taxes start coming in. And I think on the schedule I showed you, if we were at to borrow the $750,000, which the projections show now, that also is scheduled to be paid back in August when the tax revenues start coming in. So basically, you're talking about a loan that would be 60 days, and that's it, and then it ends. So, and again, the situation that brought this upon is that basically when we purchased the golf course, we used some of our liquid cash to buy an in-liquid asset. Now, let's just say we don't close on the golf course, and Gary could talk, if we don't close on that by, end of June or July, it's possible we would have the cash, so.
We should.
So.
Yeah, we plan on.
We plan on closing, and it's in the projections to close, and we have the money to close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with borrowing the money if needed. I just had a problem that we're actually taking a loan, but at the same time, we're paying out a lot of pay raises. That was my concern.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the budget that you're referring to is not until next year's budget, which starts, on July 1st. So this is kind of just to get us over the hump to, to handle the cash flow. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Councilman
just so everybody
Constant?
understands, it's all city money.
Right.
With government accounting, it's how the dollar is tagged, so we're not like some other communities we talked about, had to sell tax anticipation.
Very costly. It is very
Yeah.
costly. We do
This
not
is-
want to go through that process.
We're borrowing from a fund in the city to fund another fund.
Right. And that fund, and the general fund will pay interest at a very good rate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda is Corporation Counsel Miyake, Warren Valley Golf Course Participation Agreement Modification.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Muscat?
I move to modify the course of action authorized and approved by motion 17-425 relative to the liquor license for the Warren Valley Golf Course. If Corporation Counsel Miyake determines that the ability to use the conditional liquor license may be delayed by entering into a participation agreement with Oneida Golf Services Incorporated, or by seeking Liquor Control Commission approval of such a participation agreement, then the administration shall not be required to either enter into such an agreement with Oneida Golf Services, Inc., or to seek Liquor Control Commission approval of such an agreement. In all other respects, motion 17-425 remains unchanged as outlined in 9D.
Support.
Supported by Councilman Constant. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair?
Councilman Bazey?
So I realize this here is for the liquor license. Are we going to see another agreement to who's, I remember you guys mentioned something that you're going to have the same company managing the golf course to manage it. So are we doing anything with a contract for?
The agreement between the county and the concessionaire, Oneida, is being assigned to us per the motion that we just referred to. This is to make sure that there's not going to be any unanticipated delay with respect to the liquor license approval.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Madam Chair. So are we, the council, are we going to see a new contract once we close on the golf course?
No, not to start.
Okay, so how?
They're still under contract?
They're
then?
still under contract.
Okay.
For how long?
20, I'm not sure if it's 20, I think it might be 2021, but I don't remember the exact.
I thought it was for 3 additional years. I don't want to be quoted on that, but my last reading of it, I think it was for 3 years.
Yeah, I think.
But in the middle of a golf season, you don't want to make a change.
Okay, well, my concern is, I mean, the reason why I'm asking about a contract with whatever company is managing Oneida is for that accountability, just to make sure that they're actually, if they're doing something different, or we need to do something different, or get another company to make the golf course profitable, and not have the same issue that Wayne County had with it.
Well, it was profitable. Wayne County wasn't telling the truth, and our county commissioner gave us the statistics. The place made money, and it made money for the county, despite what the county executive said. But the other thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, but you've got Oneida and you have Wayne County and liquor license. So we're doing a transfer 1-for-1. If you start taking Oneida out, now we have to go for a brand-new license? There won't be any alcohol there for the whole summer.
We do have to do that already, but we can get a conditional license, and that is a much faster approval, and that's the idea. So we would have the conditional license until we get the permanent license, and the permanent license should not be difficult, as far as we can tell, based on the idea that they already, the person who would be running it would be the same person, so that just, if they've already been approved, then it should be smooth.
Any further discussion? Councilman
They're the
Constant?
same outfit that is now operating the Inkster Golf Course, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda, we have Police Chief Gavin, Justice Center Security Gates.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Abdullah?
I move that we concur with Police Chief Lee Gavin to replace and rebuild of the Justice Center security gates. They're currently rusting out, and internal controls and equipment will be doing this project. They've maintained the gates since the opening of the building, and this expenditure has been put in capital outlay for the police department for the 2018-19 budget years, and they require a 50% deposit for the gate manufacturing, and the chief is requesting that a check in the amount of $19,037.50 be cut in the month of June for this project, and the remaining amount of $19,037.50 will be paid upon the completion of the project, as outlined in item 9E.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bazey. Any discussion?
Sure.
Councilman Muscat?
Did we go out for bid on this? Well, maybe so we can get this done a little less expensive than almost $40,000.
Chief Gavin, would you like to?
I mean, I know that they've been doing this from day one, but if they've been doing it for day one and they've only lasted this long, maybe it's time to go find someone else.
Yeah, we had a few companies come in. We didn't do formal bids, but this company's been there since day one, like it says, and the gates are down rusted at the bottom. And the reason we're requesting the check in advance, we have it budgeted in the budget, but they need 50% down to start manufacturing the gate. So that's the reason. But we had some other people come in, not a formal bid, just to look at it early on in the process, and they were even more money.
Well, you know, I don't question that, but it would be nice to next time just see our bids from other companies so we can actually see the bids.
Okay.
But I'm sure you know what you're doing. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilman Wenzel?
Chief, the detection loops in the concrete, are they bad? They don't work? Or is that something that you're just going to get new because you're doing everything else new?
You know, over the past few years, they've come in and they've had to cut away the concrete in front of the gates for whatever electrical system is under there, the remote, and the gates are getting rusted down at the bottom. So we put some signs up. A lot of times gates are breaking, they're being stuck open, and that's a big security issue. We put some signs up, police entrance only. So it's the whole system is getting old. You know, when the station got built there in 2003, so we're talking 15 years. Doesn't seem like that long. Seems like they should be working, but they're not. So we just want to make sure we get the, you know, gates up so we have some security there.
15 years is not old at all for equipment.
I know that.
I have to disagree with you on that one. Stuff like that should last 30 years.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the agenda is Police Chief Gavin, portable radio activation.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat.
I move council concur with Chief Lee Gavin in the payment to the state of Michigan for programming 54 new portable radios recently purchased from Motorola. The total cost is $13,500. The payment will be deducted from the police department contractual services account as outlined in 9F.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have new business on the agenda. This is for business license renewals for Applebee's at 26582 Ford Road. We have Buck's Pub at 23845 Warren, Dearborn Heights Moose Lodge at 27225 Warren, Denny's Gin Mill at 4901 South Telegraph, and First Mutual Auto at 6888 North Telegraph.
Madam Chair,
Councilman Constant?
I move that the business licenses for the aforementioned businesses, as outlined in 13A, the council chair just mentioned, be approved.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Bazey. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Abdullah.
I had a question for the clerk on the license for Denny's Gin Mill. And I know there was an attached water bill to that. According to this, they owe $1,536.78. At one of the council meetings, one of the things that we had discussed is if somebody's behind, to force their hand to possibly not renew their license. I see a bill behind. I see they had a previous payment where they were behind before. Do you know any more information on this one as far as what the status is on the water?
It looks like they paid it.
It looks like they paid it. There's a receipt.
Well, no, but according to this, at the present time, you are delinquent in the water bill, so I just wanted to make sure that it is paid.
It's right,
Yes,
there's a
the next
receipt right here.
That's
Okay,
That one.
right, but that amount was not the 1536.
right.
That's what,
What I believe happened with this business, between the time that we sent the notice, these notices go out 2 months in advance of the expiration date. When we sent them out, that was the amount they owed. Subsequently, they made a small payment, which reduced the amount. And when they came in, we checked the amount once again when they come in to make sure that the amount is accurate. So they're told to go to the water department, get a bill, and get either a receipt for a clean water bill, or if they want to make an agreement. Sometimes an agreement is entered into that they pay a certain amount with stipulations that they pay. So that's what the situation was here, is that they had already made a payment between the amount of time that we sent this notice out.
And this is not a habitual type of situation, is it?
Off the top of my head, you're talking about this particular business?
Right.
Off the top of my head, I would have to do a little bit of research on that. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Any further, Councilman Wenzel?
Could we ask the comptroller, is there any water issues with these other applicants for license renewal that you know of?
No, because I have my department, the clerk's department makes a request, and I have my deputy check to see the water status and the bankruptcy status, and send a report back to the clerk's office before they approve these permits. So as of that time when it was done, there was no issue, because we go through that procedure to make sure there isn't. And I haven't entered into any agreements with any of these particular vendors saying, you know, we have to be part of that.
So you're satisfied with renewing these contracts as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, we checked it when, well, sent me the request, and they were good at that point in time. I can't tell you if they're good now, but they were in good standing at the time of the request.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have members of the public. We have comments from council members.
Madam Chair?
Councilman Constant?
This last Saturday, we had the 25th annual Ecorse Creek cleanup, and I'd like to thank all the volunteers and the sponsors that were solicited by Councilman Wenzel and family. Councilman Wenzel, in fact, I think has some of the T-shirts there with the sponsors. I was a sponsor, but didn't get my check in time, but that's fine. We were there, but we pulled a lot of debris out of the creek. We took care of the rain gardens, and it was refreshing to see the high school students, the honor students there, working hard, a few from Annapolis, many more from Crestwood. They did a great job. And our now co-chairs, Barb Gorka and Steve Ray, who's an engineer at Ford Motor Company, they just do a stellar job organizing things and executing everything. We had some of the members of the council also show up. So a great thank you to everyone involved. And then on a sad note, I heard today that Brian Winston, who was the former superintendent of schools in Dearborn and the state school superintendent, passed away at the age of 56 of pancreatic cancer. When I was a state rep in Lansing, he was represented the Oakland County area schools and has been involved in education. He, a few years ago, had lost one of his sons in a bad accident and now has passed away. He was the state superintendent for education and did a great job, and he'll be sorely missed.
Madam Chair, I'd like to
Councilman Wenzel?
Councilman Constance, thanks for the people at the Ecorse Creek cleanup. We had over 120 volunteers, which included Councilwoman Clayton, Council Chair Denise, and Councilman Bob Constant. We had several, like you said, several students from the local high schools, especially Crestwood. I put a challenge out to the other high schools, Annapolis and Robichaud, to show up in more masses next year. And I'd like to, can't say enough about our sponsors that sponsor this. We have several sponsors that sponsor every year, and it's detrimental in getting money for not only the T-shirts that we hand out to everybody, but to buy equipment to pick up debris, and for garbage bags, and for gloves, for hand sanitizers, and for our picnic, barbecue picnic we have afterwards. And it just takes a second just to mention the sponsors' names. We have Sun Glow, Carpet Clean, Affordable Auto Works, a multi-year sponsor, Lisa Hicks Clayton, Dave Abdella, John Riley II, a multi-year sponsor, Seacrest and Waldo, multi-year sponsor, Vision Restorations, Wade Trim, multi-year sponsor, Saturn Food Marketplace, multi-year sponsor, the Dearborn Heights Rotary Club, sponsors many years, and our platinum sponsors who sponsor the most money and been doing it for a long time, Studs Hardware, Mike's Barbershop, the Fairlane Eagles, and the Hall Brothers Rental. And also new this year for our platinum sponsors, we're very proud to have them, is the Dearborn Heights Firefighters Local 1355 and Elite Sports Training. I'd like to thank all these people, and we hope next year we have more people come out so I can print up more shirts. And this is the colorful shirt that we had this year.
We really stuck out.
Nobody can miss you.
Oh yeah, we're well, you know, no one misses us. So thanks again to all the volunteers and sponsors, and thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Any other? I have something I want to say. As per the request of my mail person, they asked me to announce this, that this Saturday, May 12th, your postal carrier will be coming out to pick up non-perishable donations, put them in a bag by your mailbox, and they will deliver them to a local food bank.
Good evening, everybody. I got a letter today, and I'm a little bit disturbed from a resident, and I'm disturbed because of her frustration. So I'm going to address it. It's a Ms. Hain. She's expressing difficulty reaching my office and wants to talk about some election issues. We answer our phones all the time, so I don't know where this is coming from. But the phone number is 791-3432. If you are listening, please call me tomorrow. Ask for me. If you know Ms. Hain, please give her the number and have her call. We're going to take care of your issues. So I don't know why you're having trouble. Possibly you don't have our correct number, but 791-3432. So please call us. We'll take care of it.
Council Chair.
Councilman Muscat?
Earlier today, we had the budget hearing for ordinance, and he told us about all the tickets he has written, and some of them were to abandoned vehicles, people having storing their boats and their trailers in their driveways. And a week ago, Council Chair had asked Mr. Zimmer about the vehicles that were being stored at the DPW yard. So I'm going to ask Mr. Zimmer if he has found out who they belong to and why are they there.
Director Zimmer?
I did mention the one was for one of the someone that volunteered their mobile home for our Goodfellows thing. That has been moved. The other one, I haven't had a chance to look into it yet.
Who are they licensed
Who are
to?
they licensed to? Do you know? Well, if you don't know who they're licensed to, you need to throw them away. That's not a storage yard for anybody to store their vehicles or boats in our yard. I mean, we have a hard enough time trying to store things for the general public that we need, let alone storing somebody's boat, that residents don't get a chance to do that. They have to pay to get them stored.
I understand.
So if they're
Well, I
stored in
guess-
there, they need to be out.
I'm kind of concerned that, you know, that's your yard, and I would hope you know whose stuff is there, because you
Well,
are
I
the
mean, someone may
director.
bring a boat in, you know, during the day and depend.
But it's been there.
Been there for a while.
Been there.
I'll have to look into it. That's all I can tell you.
You don't, do you have a license on it?
No,
Or-
I don't.
I'm sorry, there's probably an MC number we could check then.
Well, if I may, maybe what the police department should check into it, they have to authorize any sort of abandoned vehicle towing ultimately.
But they're on
They
their
would-
property.
Yeah, they would be able, well, but there's a process that you have to go through for abandoned vehicles at this time, and if you don't do it right, then the city has to end up bearing the cost. So perhaps the police department, I was kind of actually making a motion over here to the deputy chief to check the VIN, and then work with Director Zimmer.
Yeah, because there should be an MC number on it.
We've had vehicles parked at DPW yard, and nobody knows who they belong to.
Yep.
They just didn't show up there by themselves.
There's one vehicle.
I'm not
yeah.
disagreeing with you, I'm just saying that the process should be that the police department gets
Just
involved.
out of curiosity, who was the motorhome listed to? Because you said it was a Goodfellows.
Yeah, it was a friend of one of our employees.
What was their name?
The employee's name?
No, the person whose vehicle it was.
Every year, Goodfellows is parked on the corner, and all the DPW people, we come by and they volunteer and they cook chili and different things and have it in that motorhome.
Well, that one I could understand if it's being volunteered for work in the city, but the other ones don't need to be there. Storing a boat or another vehicle, that's out of the question. Out of the question. So we need to have the police department check in on those.
I'll have, me contact Director Zimmer.
Thank you.
That'd be perfect. Any other comments from council members? Next, is there any public announcements?
Nancy?
Nancy?
The gentlemen have already referred to the successful cleanup we just had, but I'd like to add a couple names that were there. Diane Webb, our county commissioner, and at the behest of our mayor, Mr. Wild from Westland showed up.
Yep.
And thank goodness his photographer came. We now have pictures to prove who was there.
Yeah, he emailed me, or texted me, I should say, and I was committed to the University of Michigan. Dearborn's had its alumni day, and they had me as one of their guest speakers, and so couldn't be at two places at once.
You did a good job. All right. And the second item is a problem that we're having at Daly Park. I was almost accosted by one of our senior citizens eating today, and she says, we have a situation with ants that are destroying another one of the trees. She says, we've lost one, and she doesn't want to lose two. So I don't know, does that fall on the city, DPW, or someone to spray or whatever? There's apparently a bad tree there that's attracting a lot of ants.
Where is the tree again?
Yeah, Daly Park.
In Daly Park, okay.
Right. And then thirdly, the neighborhood meeting for the South End that Mr. McIntyre's been helping me out with will again be held on May 16th, 7 to 9 at Thorne School. You're all welcome. And the mayor will be one of the speakers that evening. So we hope you all come.
Nancy?
Yes.
Nancy, but thank you for reminding me about Diane Webb. Not only did she attend the function of Ecorse Creek cleanup and rain garden maintenance, she was also a sponsor.
Right.
And she sponsored before, and she actually went down into the creek itself with our chairwoman and another friend. They removed a big clog, and she's really proactive on the creek. And
got dirty.
They may have ruined their tennis shoes,
We ruined
too.
our shoes that day, slipping into the water.
And Diane wanted
was
me
bad.
to make sure that if anyone has an issue with the creek, some clogs or something like that, notify her and she'll get the county to come out and remove it. We've got a number of areas and addresses where we're already addressing.
And you even planned the weather accordingly.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, it's beautiful weather.
Thank you.
Any other public announcements? Okay, at this time, I'm going to open it up to public comment. I'm going to ask that you please state your name, address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a comment before we do
Councilman
this.
Wenzel?
A couple days after our last meeting, I watched, and this is the first time I watched a city council meeting since I've been elected, and I was kind of shocked at the end of the meeting when we had comments from the public that there was a parade of residents that came up and made negative comments about a certain person. And it's not what we're in business for. I know there was issues, but when I was on the planning commission, we had a rule that if you were several people were there for one issue, we had them choose a representative and speak for the whole group. And I hope that the chair would exercise her authority and ask any group of people come, instead of coming up one after another saying the same thing. And at one point, someone made a comment where people were laughing about it, and that's not what we're here for, is to humiliate any residents, regardless of the situation. So
I do agree with that, totally.
I believe
Councilman
that was
Muscat?
in one of our agreements that we had at least 2 years ago, and I believe it was something that was
Well, I guess we
done
need to
through-
repeat it then.
through Mr. Ken Barron. I believe that if we had a large group of people talking about one subject, they picked a spokesperson
Perfect.
and did it that way.
That makes sense, and I totally agree with that.
Because there's other people that may follow them that want to get a chance to speak when it gets late.
Yes, it does. Okay, anyone for public comment? Okay, hearing none.
It looks.
Somebody's deliberating there.
Oh, go ahead, come on up. Yes, sir.
I had to go to the bathroom. I missed half the, I got it now.
we'll repeat it for you.
All right, anyways.
Your
I'm
name
here
and
about
your...
James Beckus. My name is Andrew Katsianis. I've lived in Dearborn Heights for over 30 years. I coached softball, baseball. My kids went to all the schools, everything else. Anyways, we live on Woodshire. Beckus is just out of control. He gets worse and worse. And it's bad for his immediate neighbors. It's really bad.
It sounds like something that you would have to address with either ordinance or a corporate council, maybe. Would that
And
cover you,
I
or
think
private?
it might be, I mean, here's the thing. I would be careful about mentioning people's names in this
Yes.
forum if we could. Although, if you're a public official, but, yeah, I know. But
Right, we're
at
just
the same
trying
time,
to
it's
be a
more a
little
matter of
respectful here, not put everything on...
being careful about making sure that no one ends up having a claim made against them in this situation. But I'd strongly encourage that any sort of complaints, and I think I spoke to the folks, you weren't here the last time, if I recall correctly, but some of the other people were, to end up making a complaint or report potentially to the chief. And after the meeting, if you'd like, we can talk about that process a little bit more with you, if you'd like. On the other hand, he does have a right to end up speaking.
Sure.
So, but
We're just trying to
suggesting-
protect you as an individual, so you don't have any lawsuits or something against you.
Well, wait a minute. I thought I was entitled to my opinion or what I believe at any time.
We're just saying be careful.
Whether it's true or not, I can
Understandable.
believe something all I want, right? Am I not correct?
Well, sir, it's not necessarily that simple.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know.
So that's why we're just...
I'm here, and I'm more than happy to talk afterward. I'm more than happy to. I mean, I'm moving, and it's not, I'm not moving just because of him. My work takes me on the road a lot now, and it makes it hard for me to take care of the house and stuff, But he hasn't been a pleasure, that's for sure. I mean, and he's not been a pleasure for other people, And there's some issues here. It's escalating. So what I'm trying to tell you is it's not going to stop, and it may get worse, and it may end up with something that's really bad.
Okay, well, we have an alternative to speak after the meeting.
He's not right.
Councilman Muscat?
I spoke to this gentleman earlier, and, we've had these problems come before city council where it's, neighbor pitted neighbor. And, like I told you, if it's a violation of an ordinance, it goes to ordinance. If it's a violation, ordinance, and in my opinion, will take care of it. There may be a process they have to go through, but they usually take care of it. Once it becomes something other than that argument, we can't do anything. That becomes something that it goes to the attorneys. We're not lawyers. We can't solve these issues. And believe me, I've been there at that podium myself saying the same thing you have. But when you get up here and you start learning, we have no control over there. That becomes then something civil.
Well, civil or criminal, in which case...
depending on how far it goes. So it's out of this body's hands at that point, once we turn it over to the proper people like ordinance and then the police.
Okay? We understand, and what we're here is it has escalated. There is other information, And it's not just one neighbor. It's not a difference between two people. You have several neighbors here right now.
So
for the same person.
Understandable.
Take it to the police or to the attorneys and
I would try that route.
Oh, there's been calls. I'm working all the time. I hear parts of it,
because
and I just know
received
him.
those phone calls from an individual party, and and I was the one that says, look, I could, you called ordinance, it didn't work out for you. I'll call ordinance, see what they had to say. They told me what happened. I gotta agree with ordinance to because that's what they're telling me. There was no violations there, and then he kept calling me back, and I said, look, if it's that much of a bother, then you're gonna have to get the police involved. So whatever he did after that, that's up to him. But I can't mediate this. But his body can't.
If we can have a moment of the
That would be
time afterward, we'd be more than happy to.
I would suggest
All
that.
right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Said that's proper.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, well,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Please, your name and your address? And
My name is Caitlin McClanahan, and I'm a business owner. I held an open house for one of the neighbors in that particular area on Saturday, and this gentleman was absolutely obstructing my open house. He'd covered my signs, he had picked up rocks in the middle of the road and carried them up and down the driveway and the sidewalk. This was quite the ordeal.
that's the time you called the police, so what did they do?
But he doesn't answer the door. He goes back inside when the police are called. The police waited, and they did a fantastic job. I really commend them. They waited for me, they asked me what time my open house ended, and they protected me to make sure that he wasn't out damaging anyone, but he did hinder my sale.
Sorry you had to go through that.
I want you to know that I'm coming from my own business perspective, that he's hindering things for this neighborhood.
Council Chair, if she could stay after too, please.
Yes. If you could stay after to discuss it further, we'd appreciate it. Any further discussion? Any more comments from the public?
I have something to say.
Please come to the podium.
I've been in this city for over 30 years. Not too many people know me. My name is Francesco Alongi. I was one of the first one to receive the key of the city. But in the meantime, I live right across the street to one person, of which you people know. And I started to see one by one, my neighbors started to leave. The Jaeger at the corner, him, my person across the street, leave too. The real estate is right over here. Everybody started to leave for one individual, which something can be done. I know the person is sick. I know you need the help. How we can help one individual when he cannot be helped by us? I call the police come and never broke any law. Come to the city, there's no ordinance. The ordinance people have been on my house and my backyard, all over the place so many times. I am the culprit. You people are the judge. If you are serious like I was, and like I am, you should be proud of your neighbor, not call the police. The police come to me, never broke any law. He broke the law on me so many times. So many times. He go in my roof. If he fell down when the snow coming and he break his neck, it's my fault, not his fault. He tried to help me. There is something wrong. This is what I have to say. How you can help the citizen like him? How you can help?
Mr. Lundy?
You are the city. You are the nation.
Would you stay after?
What you can do with an individual
Would
like
you
that?
stay after the meeting too, please?
I appreciate what you all are going through. I truly do. But it's gotten to the point that it's gotten out of hand, and that's what the corporate council is here for now. We turn it over to him, and let him decide what the next course of action is going to be as far as the law goes. He's the law expert, not us. So we have to turn it over to him because we don't know, we don't know the ins and outs of the law because we're not attorneys or judges. All we can do is ask the corporate counsel and give him the authority to look into the matter. Okay? So that's what we've just done. We've given him the authority to look into the matter. So we're hoping that he will take care of the problem with however he does it legally with the help of the police department or whatever. I truly believe Mr. Miyake will take care of this situation.
Yes, sir.
Let's stay after.
Stay after and we'll
If you want to talk to the
Don't
attorney,
leave.
you can stay and talk to the attorney. And it won't cost you anything, but a little time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Wenzel?
Fine.
Anybody else?
No.
Anybody?
Motion to adjourn, yeah. Second?
Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, I'll talk.